Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're plunging straight into a brilliant, genuinely haunting short story called Doctor by Deborah A.H. We're going to completely unravel a deeply surreal mystery that tackles some pretty heavy themes, trauma, memory, and those super dark corners of the subconscious mind. If you're someone who loves stories that totally blur the line between nightmare and reality, well, you are absolutely in for a treat today. So, let's just get right into it. So we begin our journey with a wildly unsettling scenario. Just imagine this. Waking up, you look behind you to find the door you just walked through and realize it's completely gone. No way out. Our protagonist finds herself trapped in this bizarre, inescapable waiting room. And the worst part? Literally, everyone in the room is relentlessly staring at her. They aren't speaking, they aren't looking down at their phones. They are just burning holes into her, looking at her as if she's just committed some terrible crime. Plus, she has absolutely zero memory of how she even got there. Just this agonizing, pounding pain in her head. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast the author paints. We have this eerie, gray-wash room on one side, compared to the vibrant, normal reality of a doctor's office on the other. The protagonist actually points out that normal clinics have, color, right? They have life and meaning. They remind you that you're alive and that everything's going to be okay. But this room she's stuck in, it feels like the exact opposite of life. It's a space completely devoid of warmth, totally closed off from the outside world, which honestly is a massive red flag implying she's trapped somewhere way worse than your standard medical facility. And to really hammer home that lifeless feeling, the author uses this incredibly oppressive monochromatic gray palette across the entire scene. The walls are light gray, the chairs are gray, the adults are in dark gray, even the kids are in this slightly lighter gray. Literally, the only things breaking up this super depressing color scheme are a receptionist's unnatural red lipstick and her unnervingly straight, bright white teeth. This incredibly specific visual cue, the overwhelming grayness interrupted by these harsh, almost predatory features, it expertly signals to us, the readers, that something is deeply psychologically wrong here. Moving on to Section 1, Meeting Dr. What If, the antagonist within. Okay, so let's dive into this next phase. Our amnesic protagonist is finally called from the waiting room and led down this totally depressing, seemingly endless hallway. Now, once she's inside the exam room, we're all expecting a standard medical evaluation, right? Instead, the story takes a massive, sharp turn into psychological horror. Dr. What If pulls out her chart, but he doesn't read her vitals. Cruelly, he starts reciting her deepest, most painful past embarrassments. He brings up the time a crush rejected her, the time she literally threw up trying to audition for a high school play, and the really awkward mistakes she made just trying to make friends in middle school. This brilliantly illustrates that, hey, he isn't a real medical doctor at all. He is quite literally a physical manifestation of her own internal self-loathing and regret. And the psychological torture definitely doesn't stop at childhood embarrassments. Dr. What If pulls out a photograph of a family, a father and 3 kids, and bluntly tells her she is never going to see them again. The protagonist actually recognizes the mother in the photo as someone familiar, but her memory is completely blocked. As she tries so hard to focus on it, she gets hit with this agonizing, hammer-like pain in her head. The story uses this physical pain so effectively to mirror her mental anguish, which really ramps up the psychological horror as she struggles to grasp her own identity. Then, oh man, the tension just completely peaks. The metaphor turns into a literal monster. Dr. What If physically transforms right in front of her eyes. His smile twists up like it's been poured with acid. His teeth become freakishly human. His hands warp into these terrifying chimpanzee-like appendages, and he starts taking these slow, menacing steps toward her. When she tries to break away, he actually grabs her. Our terrified protagonist manages to somehow rip the door open and flee. But get this, Dr. What If's skin stretches out like chewing gum as he literally climbs the walls to chase her. I mean, it is pure, unfiltered nightmare fuel. This absolutely fuels an escalating, heart-pounding escape sequence. She races down that endless hallway, which the author describes as being literally full of sadness and regret. The monstrous doctor is right behind her, breathing down her neck, whispering that they aren't done with her pain. But as she runs, she realizes something super crucial. They've actually done this before. He has caught her every single time she tried to escape her past. But this time she sees a bright light. Despite the terrifying screams all around her begging her not to go, she completely breaks her cycle of fear. She ignores the stretching hands of her regrets and plunges directly, bravely, into the blinding light. Which brings us to Section 2, the car crash reveal, waking up to reality. Okay, here's where the massive twist of the story drops, completely recontextualizing the entire mystery of everything we've just witnessed. So check this out. She wakes up in a real hospital bed. That horrific gray waiting room, the doorless trap, the endless dark hallway, it was all actually a 2-week coma dream caused by a terrible drunk driving accident. The pounding, hammer-like pain in her head wasn't just some vague anxiety, it was severe physical brain trauma from the crash. And finally, after weeks of being utterly lost in the gray, our protagonist remembers her real name, Nova. Upon finally waking up, Nova is greeted by a real, actual medical professional, Nurse Evenif. Honestly, just think about that name for a second. Nurse Evenif. Her soft, warm, totally grounded presence acts as the absolute perfect healing antithesis to the abusive nightmare that was Dr. What If. Where Dr. What If was designed to just tear Nova down with all this anxiety about the past, Nurse Evenif is there to build her up and gently guide her recovery in the present. The real victory, though, comes when her actual family bursts into the hospital room. It's the exact same family from the photograph Dr. What If tried to weaponize against her. But pay attention to how the author describes them here. Samuel is wearing bright blue, Dwayne is in vivid orange, and her daughter Elizabeth is in pink, with shoes that literally light up when she walks. It's this incredible explosion of vivid color that completely shatters the depressing, colorless nightmare of her coma. She has officially escaped the gray. This leads us right into Section 3, Overcoming the What-Ifs, Healing from the Past. Now, obviously, surviving the crash and reuniting with her colorful family is a massive deal. But it's only part of the battle. Even though she is safe in reality now, Nova still feels that heavy, lingering guilt and embarrassment of her past mistakes weighing on her mind. She confesses this pain to Nurse Evenif, who drops this incredible truth bomb. You can't live in the past forever. It will trap you and will feed you lies. It makes you say, what if? This perfectly delivers the story's core moral. We absolutely cannot let our trauma and past regrets trap us. Just like that literal waiting room in her coma, living in the past creates an endless psychological hallway of self-doubt. The what-ifs of our lives, they're basically just lies designed to keep us running in circles, terrified of our own history. Nurse Evenif beautifully and directly counters the absolute toxicity of the what-ifs with the hope of even if. She reminds Nova, and honestly all of us reading, that defining your future is an active choice. Like, even if you made mistakes in middle school, even if you were totally rejected, even if you've experienced severe trauma, it doesn't dictate your worth today. It is entirely about what you actively choose to hold on to as you move forward. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. We all have our own internal Dr. What If living inside our minds, bringing up past embarrassments and feeding us complete lies to keep us stuck in a gray room. But remember, you have the power to sprint toward the light. Take a moment today to reflect on your own history and personal growth. What what-ifs are holding you back from stepping out of the gray and into the bright light of your own reality? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hey, keep moving toward the light.